Welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us again today. And it's a pleasure to welcome back Paul Sallaway from Optics Digital. Thanks so much for joining us again, Paul.
Yeah, hi Lee. Thanks for inviting me. I enjoyed our chat last week, and I'm happy to be back again today.
Awesome. Great. So today we're going to be talking about Google Analytics. And there's some big changes coming up with Google Analytics as we speak. A lot of practitioners will have Google Analytics installed on their website, and it's actually going to be disappearing or being phased out permanently. So it'd be great to dive into that today about Google Analytics. So Paul, we've heard about Google. Everyone's familiar with Google, but what is Google Analytics?
Okay, well, so I mean, let's just talk about what analytics is, I guess, for starters. Imagine Lee, you're in a plane flying at night. It's dark, there's cloud, and you've got no instrument panel. Okay, so there's nothing to tell you like whether everything's going according to plan or whether there's something that needs your attention. Whether you're about to run out of fuel, crash into a mountain, whatever. Okay, so that's a bad way to travel. So to put it lightly, and having a website without any kind of analytics feedback is kind of the same thing. You're kind of just thrashing around, throwing stuff at the wall, hoping something works. So it would be much better if you had some sort of feedback, statistical feedback, to make data-driven decisions about your business and about your online strategy. So that's what analytics is. It's feedback about what's happening on your website when people come to it. And so when people talk about Google Analytics, it's the most common, I guess. It's the most commonly used form of website analytics. It's a free product. It's a free tool provided by Google. Google gets the by far the lion's share of website search traffic. So most people use it. So the Google Analytics version that we have at the moment is what they call Universal Analytics. Okay, Google Universal Analytics, and it's been with us since 2012. From July 1st, they're changing over to what they're calling Google Analytics 4 or GA4. So Google Analytics isn't going away, but it's kind of changing now. Is the new version better? Is it easier to use? I think the verdict's kind of still out with a lot of people on that score. But it is going to be a little bit different. And regardless, we don't have any choice if we want to keep using the free resources that Google provides. So we need to get ready for the new version of Google Analytics, which is GA4. And so all of the historical data that we have from our current analytics, Google Universal Analytics, that's going to stay there, but from July 1st, it's just not going to get any new data. They're just going to kind of like draw a line in the sand there and say, look, if you want to track your website from this point on, you need to have GA4, Google Analytics 4, in place. And I mentioned last week that because my agency, Optics Digital Marketing, we're focused on supporting independent optometrists. I mentioned that I went through a process of doing a review, doing an analysis of more than 150 websites, and what I found was about 61% of the websites that I looked at had some form of Google Analytics on there, which still means that there's 39% of businesses in this sector that are flying blind at night, basically. So I think if you haven't started using some form of analytics, then you should think about it. That was my advice.
There's that saying in marketing that 50% of my marketing is working I'm just not sure which 50%.
Yeah, you've been reading my notes, Leader. I was going to bring that up. I think it goes back to the 19th century actually, as Google hasn't been with us that long, but there was a guy called John Wanamaker who, according to some sources, is credited with being like the pioneer of the department store concept. Okay, and I think a reporter asked him about advertising, and he said, yeah, he said, I know half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. I just don't know which half. Um, and so yeah, it's funny you bring that up. But I think anyone in 2023 who's paying for like radio ads or newspaper ads is probably familiar with that sentiment. Um, on the other hand, if you have a digital advertising strategy, if you're putting resources into digital promotion, then you have the ability then to look under the hood and see, you know, what's happening in your marketing funnel, what's working, what's not working, and take action accordingly.
For sure. Yeah. What are some of the important things that we should be measuring with Google Analytics?
Yeah, well, I think that there's lots and lots of things that you could measure with analytics. You could really go down the rabbit hole if you wanted to. But I think that for starters, at least, there's probably four or five things that I like to look at with with my own analytics and the analytics of any of my clients. And I think the first one is your traffic sources. Okay, so it's always important to know where people are coming from to your website. So is it, for example, from social media? Are they clicking through from links in your Facebook? Right? Is it like from Google searches, like Google's free traffic that they send you? Right? Are people coming through that way? Is it from paid ads? So it's always important to know where your traffic is coming from. I'd say that's the first thing. The second thing I like to look at is landing pages. So, like, what pages on your website are getting the most action? So, where are people arriving the most? Typically, it's the home page. The home page tends to get a good proportion, if not the majority, of your site visits. But it's always interesting to see what other pages are getting hit as well. So, like for example, if you've got your services, maybe you've got a special service page for I don't know, something like well, let's say if you're offering eye exams for people in a particular industry, like pilots, for example, right? So the Civil Aviation Safety Authority, they require pilots to get, you know, regular eye examinations. So let's say you've got a page that's dedicated to that, and you saw that a lot of people were arriving on that page. It was getting a high percentage of your traffic. Well, that's something that you would like to know, because it means you could maybe lean into that a bit more, maybe increase your promotion around that service. You know, so that's good. That's good data to have. I think another one that I like to look at is the bounce rate. So bounce means that people come to a page and then they leave without visiting any other page on your site. And so what that can mean is that the site that they arrived at wasn't what they were expecting, wasn't what they were looking for, or could mean that they just had a bad user experience. They found it like was messy or something. It could mean that it was slow to load, and so they kind of like gave up before the page was fully loaded. So all of those things would be, I think, opportunities to, like, if you had a high bounce rate on a particular page, I think that's something that you should look at, because it could be an opportunity to improve that particular page. So yeah, bounce rate can be indicative of some things. Another one that I like to look at is the average session time. So like how long does somebody spend on your website as a whole or on a particular page? So So like I like to think if somebody spends more than even 3 minutes on a particular page, that's a pretty good signal. It means that there's something on there. There's something on there that caught their attention. There's something they were interested in. Because like when was the last time you spent more than 3 minutes on a page that was absolutely not what you were looking for? Right? Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
We move pretty quick. We move pretty quick when we're surfing the web. So if somebody spends 3 minutes on a page, that indicates to me that there's a good level of engagement there. And one little pro tip you can do, by the way, to increase your average session time is to embed video on the page. So like embed your embed YouTube videos. It doesn't even have to be your videos. It can be somebody else's if they have a video about a topic that you want to share with your audience. But if you have a video on the page, when visitors come to that page, they've got to spend time on the page to watch it. So that means your average session time goes up, and that's actually a really good signal to Google. It's telling Google that you're providing valuable information, and it's one of the factors that could increase your rankings in like the Google search results as well. So that's just a little tip. And I think the last point, the last thing that I look for, and this is probably the most important one, and that is the conversion rate. Okay, so like of all of the visitors who come to your page, how many of them end up taking some kind of conversion action, whether that be like to click on the call button, right? To click on the button that initiates a call, let's say from your smartphone, or goes through to the book an appointment page. Okay, so those completed actions are conversions. So it's always good if you can see like what percentage of visits ended as a conversion, and of course hopefully you want to see like a steady improvement in that conversion percentage over time. So if you know those things, those 4 or 5 data points, I think those are very useful KPIs that you can work on optimizing, and invariably that will lead to better business outcomes.
Yeah, terrific. So we're definitely interested in tracking phone call clicks and
Yeah.
online appointment bookings. That's really what we're looking for. But yeah, you're saying that we can also measure intermediate goals as well, like improving time on the page, using video
Yep.
on the page.
Yep.
Examples of little things like that we can do to boost the final outcome.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And I mean something like if you've got a booking form. If you've got a booking form that people are expected to complete, like in a series of steps. So, like I don't know how common this is, but in some websites you see pages that have like intermediate steps in the booking process. So you might want to track like how many people completed the first page and then abandoned, right? Or how many people completed the first 2 pages and then abandoned. Because if you're seeing a high drop off rate, that's a sign that maybe you need to do something to optimize that whole process. Make it a bit less, a bit more frictionless. Okay, to remove some of the obstacles to people booking an appointment. So those could be like intermediate goals as well that you can measure through analytics.
Yeah, great. And if someone was interested in getting your help to set up the new Google Analytics, is that something that you're willing to help with?
Yeah, well, so my agency at Optics Digital Marketing, so we offer plans to help independent optometrists who want to grow their business. We'll work out a customized marketing package for you, and usually, like most types of marketing strategies require a modern conversion optimized website, and also have fast, secure hosting, web hosting. And so if somebody needs that kind of service, we can set them up with a hosting account, and analytics automatically becomes part of that. Yeah, so we'll set up their analytics. We'll even set up some customized reporting so that a lot of people, I think, when they look at Google Analytics the first time, they're like, "Whoa, this is too much data." It's
Yeah.
paralysis by analysis. But what we can do is just sort of like condense that down into a set of KPIs that really matter, and say, "Hey, these are the things that we believe are going to move the needle, and these are the things that we're going to track month on month." So yeah, we can do all that when we set up a package, marketing package for our clients.
Yeah, awesome. So having that report there at your fingertips
Yeah,
each month, it
yeah,
really helps to guide your process and growing your practice.
yeah. That's right. Yeah. So that becomes kind of your north star. If you want to see your conversion percentages increase, just having that number, that's like a progress marker, and you can like make your whole team aware that this is the metric that we want to track and we want to move, and so then everyone knows what outcome they're all working towards.
Yeah, it's great to have something that's so comprehensive, but at your fingertips. There's often with Sunix or Optimate, there's it's reports there, but they're just clunky or hard to get around. But Google
Yeah.
Analytics is there at your fingertips, so being able to review that every month would be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, if you've got your own web developer or your own webmaster, then speak to them. They should be able to make sure that you're migrated properly into the Google Analytics 4, the new version from July 1st. If you're running a WordPress site, there are plugins that you can use to install the GA4 code on your site. Another way of doing it would be to use another Google product called Google Tag Manager, which I think is probably the best way of doing it, because with Google Tag Manager, you install Tag Manager once on your website, and then basically you never have to touch another line of code. You can manage a lot of things that you need to do just through the Google Tag Manager dashboard. It's like you're operating your website on remote control, if you like. So I think Google Tag Manager is the best, but it can be a little bit intimidating if the first time you see it too. So again, talk to your webmaster about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Paul, there's Google Analytics is one kind of analytics. What are some other kinds of analytics that we should be aware of?
Yeah, well, Google Analytics actually has a kind of a sidekick, a buddy, which is Google Search Console, and they work sort of like hand in hand. They're complementary tools. So Google Analytics, if you like, tells you everything that happens once people arrive on your website. Google Search Console sort of tells you everything that happens before they get to your website. So it'll tell you like what search terms were people using to find your site in the Google search results. Okay, if that's how they arrived. It'll tell you like how many times did the link for your site appear. So we call those impressions. How often did people click through on that link? So it'll give you a lot of information, a lot of analytical information about what happens in the patient journey before they even get to your website. So I would highly recommend that people install Analytics and Google Search Console. There's a lot more that you can do with Search Console as well, but those are the really useful things that I find that I get from it. So aside from Google, Facebook, I mean, Facebook has its own statistical environment. So especially if you're running excuse me, if you're running Facebook ads, you need to install something called the Facebook Pixel, so that you can track visitors from your Facebook ads to your website. Okay, and so you can marry those things up. There's another tool that I've used and I like. It's called Hotjar. So Hotjar is a website analytical tool. They do have a free account. You can use it for free to a limited extent. What it does, it'll give you a heat map and show you like what parts of your pages are getting the most attention. Because I don't know about you, but when I'm looking at a web page, I tend to like move the cursor over the things that I'm looking at. So there's a correlation between eye tracking and cursor movement. So what Hotjar can do is it can show you like what buttons are getting attention on your site, maybe what images, what headlines, what sales copy, all of that. So, and it gives it to you in a nice sort of a heat map report, very easy to understand visually. So that's another tool that I think is useful. Last week we talked about email marketing. So email all email marketing platforms, they give you statistics about like your open rates, about how many people clicked through on your call to action, like your offer, whatever that was, how many people clicked on that, how many people unsubscribed from your list. Okay, so those are all statistics as well. Those are all analytical. That's all analytical data that I think can be useful. And the last one I think is one that a lot of people overlook, and that is the search logs of your own website. So if you think about like when you go to Amazon, big site like Amazon, so there's typically one of two things that people do is they might go to the navigation bar and try and find what they're looking for. It might be like cameras, and then looking for different subcategories of cameras, and try and find what they need that way. Or they go to Amazon's search bar and they start searching for like 360 camera or something. So a lot of websites, especially with WordPress websites, you can install your own search bar, your own search functionality. So if somebody comes to your site, um, they want to know if you do bulk billing, or they want to know, if you offer like dry eye treatments or something like that. They may use that search bar to go directly to whatever it is on your site that addresses that query. Now, your website will store those queries, or it should store those queries, which is great information for you, because if a lot of people are searching for that question, bulk billing or insurance, like insurance cover, then maybe that's something that you want to add to, say, the homepage of your site. So maybe it's something that's important for a large percentage of visitors. It's information that a lot of people are seeking to take the next step towards becoming a patient. So that kind of those kind of internal search logs are also, I think, an important piece of analytics that you can use.
That's great. Yeah, that's a really, really good tip, Paul. That we should be looking at these, looking at what people are searching for on our website, and that can help to give us ways to improve our website.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, unless you go put together a focus group, which is not easy or cheap to do. If people are telling you through their search behavior, that becomes a really good way to sort of like get inside people's heads and understand what's important to them, and data based decision making that should drive the improvements that you make to your site, the content that you add to your site, refinements that you make to your sales funnel, and so on.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. That's great. It's been great to hear about the ways we can measure our success, so we know what the other 50% is actually doing. So yeah, it's been that's great, Paul. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing these great insights with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. And so, if anyone's watching this and they need help with their digital marketing strategy, please reach out to me at Optics Digital Marketing. That's opticsdigital.net, and Lee will have the link in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Well, we'll look forward to keeping up with you next week, Paul.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks, Lee.
Thanks, Paul.